James' novel, certainly the article he wrote, and the screenplay. I found things in the screenplay that I related to, and I went after that. I did research. I did a. It was shown in Cannes, and I was friendly with the Stones at that time, and Keith Richards was there, and he said to me, "Hey man, you into the hard stuff?" And I said, "No." He said, "Then how come you do a film about that?" And I said, "I could probably do a film with a woman having a baby, and I can't do that either, so it's just research. It's just going into it and getting into the world." I think, if I remember correctly, Al's brother was an addict at one point, so he had a lot of stories. As I say, I was friendly with the Stones, so they certainly were into drugs, and at the time, a time before that, I was involved with some discotheques. I was owner in a couple of discotheques. So all the kids I knew, and a lot of people were all involved in some way. We had the Doors before they had an album. We had Buffalo Springfield before they had an album. Jim Morrison certainly was into. Well, you can see by behavior and everything that was going on in the '60s had to do with the drug world, and you couldn't be here in New York and not see it. I mean, you'd walk down an alley, or you'd walk down the street and see down an alley, you'd see people shooting up. So it was really very prevalent. And although by the time I got to shooting on Broadway, and we shot at 69th Street because I felt a better location than 72nd Street. 72nd Street was really bad, Needle Park. But I liked what I saw on 69th Street in the film world. We can take license like that and do things. I think if there's a reality to the film, that's the way I think. I was born in the Bronx, brought up in the Bronx, and something there had to have something to do with the way I think, the way I look at things. By a fluke, I got into the fashion world, but even there, I couldn't always imagine people just standing on a piece of paper and holding one hand up and one hand on their hip and things like that. So I would have people walking across the paper and doing things that real people do. And I think the majority of, if there's a realism in it, and I know that it's been many times reviewed, saying that it was more real or honest than a lot of documentaries they've seen on drugs. Well, that's what you do in the film world. You have to decide how you want to tell the story. I know there have been other drug stories after that, and all with different approach to it, and some good, some not good, but usually it's the approach comes from the team that puts it together. Now, I had a lot of help from my cast, because Juliet Taylor, who cast the film, got a lot of kids from Hair, and a number of them were ex-addicts, and I would just keep on questioning them and getting my information. The first actor that shoots up actually was a former heroin addict, and if anybody knows how to do that, an addict knows how to do that. If he's an actor and an addict, it's better. And so we had about 4 or 5 people that I knew had been formerly addicts. The factory that we use for cutting the heroin, the couple of the people in there had actually worked in factories, so they were able to help me. And it's just what that's my job, to find out how to do it and how to do it the way I want to do it. What else did you want? Didn't I answer all your questions there? The abortion, that was written in by the Dundidian. And that comes as part of storytelling. You know, they figured now how can the story be moved along? Here she is, girl from the country, meets up with an artist, and you know, didn't get into the drug habit, but you know, it was a whole new thing for her, and she did get pregnant. She did go through that experience of which I think still happens probably if a guy impregnates a woman, you know, and he's not really responsible. You know, she's going to have to be responsible, which is not great, but that's what the world is out there. Give me some more questions. Throw them at me.
So the location was actually on
69th Street,
not 71st Street?
No, I actually shot where they hang out because it was a smaller piece of concrete there. The 71st Street is a subway station. Right. It's bigger and all that, and I just didn't like it. But actually, I'm sure they were, a lot of them were hanging out there too, because there was a building diagonally across from 69th Street where they we had a little courtyard, and they used to get their drugs and then go in there and shoot up. So I know that, you know, that whole area was probably Needle Park. And have you been down there? Have you seen?
I was down there.
You actually live there.
I live around here, so you know I'm really familiar with the area. But can you cut it in recording?